everybody. Welcome to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is the sexiest voice in podcasting today, Tim Jousma, and with me I've got...
the even sexier voice of Kim the Geek on Twitter.
All right. It's all sultry and everything.
I can do sultry at times.
I know. Before we begin, we wanted to do a little house cleaning based on last week's episode. One topic I discussed last week was an interview that Chris Van Vliet did with the son of former professional wrestler Chris Benoit. It's one of those deals that I've discovered with podcasting that, you know, you can talk and talk and talk, but sometimes you give wrong information without realizing it.
Mm-hmm. It happens.
Yeah, and last week when I re-listened to the episode after I had published it, I realized that I called the person that Chris Van Vliet interviewed Daniel Benoit. That was incorrect. Daniel Benoit was the name of Chris Benoit's son, who Chris Benoit tragically murdered that weekend of his death.
Oh, no. So you got the names mixed up.
I got the names mixed up. His living son is David Benoit. So I felt like absolute crap afterwards.
Yeah, but their names are very similar. Daniel and David aren't very far apart.
Yeah.
So it's an honest mistake, and you're apologizing, so that's good.
Yeah, and I highly doubt either Chris Van Vliet or David Benoit would ever listen to this, but if they do, I do offer a heartfelt apology for that. It was not intentional in any way, shape, or form. And for David, if he does happen to listen to this, the fact that you are going out there talking about this and trying to live your life and take back your family name, you know, I have nothing but the utmost respect for what you're doing. You know, just keep on with a good fight. Ignore anybody that wants to, you know, ridicule you or, you know, do some, you know, name calling behind a keyboard, you know, which is unfortunately something that he has to face these days.
Yep, but ignore those negative keyboard warriors. Yeah,
just keep on with the fight. Who knows? You may not necessarily achieve your dream, but you will never achieve your dream if you don't work towards it. So.
Yep. You can't fault someone for trying.
Yeah. Well, we got that, and we'll also do another update before we begin the show proper. The coronavirus is really wreaking havoc for being such a big hoax, right?
Yeah, it's not a hoax, folks. It is not a hoax, folks. Trust me, it is not a hoax.
They need Paul Simon for that. You get on the because he had that, you know,
yeah. Make a new plan, Stan. Don't need to be coy, Roy. It's not a hoax. It's not a hoax. It's not a hoax, folks. It's real. It's very real. They've canceled school. They've canceled college. They've canceled gatherings of more than 100 people. Restaurants have to have their capacity. They're not allowed to have more than half of what they normally were allowed to serve at a time.
In the Pacific Northwest area that we're in, the Hollywood Theater in Portland, Oregon, which is a small theater to begin with. I mean,
they're having their capacities too. Yeah.
No, they closed down.
They're closed completely.
Because
their Laurelhurst posted that they were having their capacities.
Laurelhurst is another great movie theater in the Portland area, but the Laurelhurst too,
they're small.
They're much smaller, so I think they can easily get away with that. Whereas the Hollywood, their main theater does seat, I believe, about maybe 500.
Yeah, I think so, and they do a lot of real special screenings that sell out.
Yeah.
I've been to a few screenings there that have sold out. Every seat taken, you're elbow to elbow with strangers, and yeah, we don't want that right now because...
But WrestleMania is still apparently happening.
But they've canceled the NBA.
They've canceled the NBA. They've canceled the XFL, the football league that Vince McMahon started up again. But WrestleMania...
When is WrestleMania?
April 5th.
That's still far enough away that it might.
The word is this. Tampa city officials have said that between now and next week, if the WWE does not cancel it, if things remain the same or get worse, then WrestleMania is dead.
Yeah, they've had a few cases in Florida, so which makes sense considering the population there. There's a lot of elderly folks that live there, and unfortunately, this virus, it's terrible. It's taking out those with weakened immune systems. It's taking out those who already have health conditions, which is unfortunately usually the elderly. That's mostly who this virus has killed. Children are being spared, but they're closing the schools. But
my son was happy.
Kids are germ farms anyway, so it makes sense that they would do that.
Oh, Luke was ecstatic. He was
I bet.
Just like, yes, yes.
Is he gonna try and do some online school, or are they gonna set that up for him?
I don't know what they're gonna do. Knowing him, he'll probably spend more time on his Nintendo Switch that I got him for Christmas.
Oh, isn't Animal Crossing coming out soon? The new Animal Crossing game? Is that one he likes?
I don't know if he likes that. I know apparently my poor and destitute ex-wife got him a new phone. And he said he told me he downloaded the WWE Network on that, but also told me after the fact too that he doesn't have an account. So basically, he was hinting at me to try to restart my WWE Network subscription to give him my login.
Like, mm-hmm.
And yeah, and he said it, and I'm like, I better. Anyway,
that kid.
Yeah, he also showed me a comic that he made. Let me bring it up here.
Oh, he made a comic.
Yeah, he's 14 now. He had his birthday the other day, and
14.
He's 14. He is autistic, so he's different, but he's funny as hell. I mean,
yeah, he seems like a good kid.
Yeah, and like he made a comic here. I'll read it. It's between a mother and a son, and the mother starts out, "Hi, Wilson. How are you?" Wilson said, "I'm gonna bunk you on the head, Mommy." And his mommy goes, "Oh." And then the last panel is Wilson hitting his mother on the head with a hammer, going bonk. And he said it was a blow up hammer. It wasn't a real hammer.
I've seen those hammers where the like fun hammers where you like hit things with it. It's basically like a really, really light plastic one, but it has some kind of thing inside that makes really funny noises.
Yeah,
squeak, like hit it and goes like boing or something like that, you know.
Yeah, just that reaction though initially that you had. You're like, is he going to tell me about animals that he dissected before?
No.
Anyway, but
yeah, it's not a hoax. Be careful, people. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Don't panic. Stay hydrated. That's what I've been telling everybody. I went to the grocery store a couple weeks ago. It wasn't a couple weeks ago. It was about a week and a half ago. And this old man was in the water aisle just looking very kind of lost. And I was getting Diet Coke because, I'm addicted. And he kind of, I guess he thought I looked friendly because he turned to me and he's like, "I don't understand why everybody's so freaked out. Isn't this just like the flu or something like that? I got my flu shot." And he just started rambling at me and I'm like, eh? And then he's like, "Well, what's really terrible is that I need isopropyl alcohol because I give myself shots 3 times a day for my diabetes." And the store had been cleaned out. And so he's like, I've been to 3 stores now. I just need a bottle of rubbing alcohol so I can clean my skin before you get shot. People, I know we need it to sanitize, but you don't need all of it. You don't need all of it. And you know what works for sanitizing stuff? You put some soap, like just dish soap, in a bucket with some warm water, and you get a cloth wet, and you wipe stuff down, and then you get your cloth wet again after you rinse it out. You wipe it down again. Boom, sanitized. You don't have to take all the rubbing alcohol. There are people with diabetes who use it to give themselves shots.
Yeah, I mean, partly, there is a part of me that, for people our age are in good health, this coronavirus deal is not that big of a deal. What, to your point, the problem comes in terms of carrying it. You can easily pass it off to somebody that is affected.
Is you may have it. There's a good chance that most of us probably do have it, and we're just chalking it up to the sniffles or seasonal allergies, which are starting up now, and I can tell that I have my seasonal allergies.
Maybe I had it a few weeks back. Remember I had the, the full body pain and whatnot you thought was the flu?
I'm pretty sure that was the flu, actually. And it just was very mild because
I
you
wanted
got
a
your...
major disease. Come on.
No, I'm pretty sure it was the flu because you got your flu shot, but you had a mild case of it. I'm pretty sure it was the flu.
Yeah.
But,
I wanted a pandemic disease, but...
No, trust me, you don't want this pandemic disease. You don't want to end up in the hospital. If you get it, it'll probably be very mild. If you get it and if you have asthma like I do, it could be bad news.
Yeah.
So, anyway, just follow the rules and just wash your hands and stay hydrated. Seriously, staying hydrated is the best thing you can do this time of year anyway, because it helps flush out any cold, flu, whatever bugs are in your system. But that doesn't mean you have to take all the bottled water on the shelf. You can use tap water. We have decent tap water here.
And worst case scenario, boil the water. I mean...
Yeah, you can boil water. I know.
Yeah, I think it's like boil water for like 10 minutes and then just the rest you pour in a jug, put in the fridge, and boom, it's...
Tastes good. There you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right, anyway, let's get off that topic, although actually I'll probably talk about it. I'm kind of a little obsessed with it, actually, in a way. I'm trying not to panic, but at the same time I'm trying to stay well informed. Since I do work in healthcare, I have to know what's going on.
Okay. Well, let's go out with a little distraction. So if you are trapped in your house and quarantined, let's talk about comic book heroes.
Yeah, and if you are under quarantine, it's a good chance to catch up on your reading, like comic books. That's a good thing. After
you listen to our show.
Yes.
All right. So sometimes the easiest way for a show like ours, like a podcast or like a talk show or something like that, to come up with a topic is to come up with what is the Mount Rushmore of. Because it's one of those easiest things that, at the end of the day, even though people can take hours, even days or months or years thinking about that, at the end of the day, it's all just what's at the top of your head at the moment you think of it. So what I wanted to do was talk about both of our Mount Rushmore of comic book heroes. Because as I mentioned with like the Marvel studio movies, I do think the reason that, comic book heroes are getting as much attention as they are these days is simply because, in the world that we live in, we are looking for those, white-hatted heroes to come in and, save the day. When everything is... Even the nicest of people in politics are being portrayed as, the evil scum of the earth. You want to emulate somebody. You want some shining light in your life. So I will start off with mine, but again, this is all just top of your head type of deal.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now. I'm like,
yeah, because 24 hours from now, this could easily change.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So my number one, obviously, since I have a tattoo of him, is Superman.
Well, that's a given.
That is going to be a given. I mean, most of these, for me, if you've heard this show long enough, will probably be a given. But Superman is, and always has been, since I can, remember. I mean, I remember growing up and watching the Super Friends, and in downtown Grand Rapids, the building where the courthouse was, that was adjacent to the police station, was called the Hall of Justice. So anytime, we would take the bus to my dad's place for the weekend and whatnot, we'd pass by there, part of me was thinking, that's where Superman and Wonder Woman are.
That would be cool if they were.
That would, but unfortunately they weren't.
No, they weren't.
But, yeah, just... that character, as well as some of the people who've played him, most importantly Christopher Reeve. I mean, I think if there was ever one actor that was perfect for a particular role, I mean, Christopher Reeve was Superman. He embodied that character.
I would agree, definitely. He was a good guy in general.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think what he realized about that character, he realized that character can, cause people to want to get more out of their life. I mean, I think, if he had not played Superman, if he had still had that accident without playing that character, who knows, what he would have done afterwards. I mean, it's hypothetical what if, but, I think the fact that he saw the power of what that, Superman character could do allowed him to, take a deep breath, assess the situation after his accident, and then decide to, do what he could to make the world a better place. So, any thoughts on Superman?
I think it's an obvious, perfect choice. There's really nothing more to say. I mean, it's obvious.
Okay.
Superman goes on your Mount Rushmore.
All right. Who would be on your Mount Rushmore?
Well, why don't you announce all four of yours first, rather than going back and forth, because I'm still trying to decide on mine.
Okay. Number 2 for me, pretty obvious, again, if you've listened to the show long enough. Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was like, I could have just said it.
Yeah.
Because, like, duh.
Yeah, just the beauty of the Marvel characters in general, not just Peter Parker with Spider-Man, is the fact that Stan Lee, when he created those characters, actually, the main focus was on their real self, not necessarily the superhero. Because with Superman, the main focus was on Superman, and then part of it was Clark Kent. Whereas when you read a Spider-Man comic, you were there for what happened to Peter Parker. Spider-Man was there for the fight scenes and whatnot, and just being able to relate to such a character who had everyday normal problems. I mean, even back in the 60s, he had money problems that he couldn't escape from. He had family members he had to care for. I don't like hearing him whine about getting women, because come on, Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane Watson, that lucky son of a bitch. Bastard. But just overall, I would say he's the closest Marvel got to a Spider-Man. Maybe Captain America would be on that list, in terms of the type of character that Superman is as well. But I think Spider-Man has the more far-reaching impact than Captain America did long-term.
I agree. Spider-Man's relatable because he's just a guy. He starts as a teenager, gradually builds up into a young adult, and he's got all the same problems that we have. Money, girl, family, all that stuff. Plus, he's a Superman. He's a superhero. Mm-hmm. He's got problems, and everybody can relate to that, because we've all got crap that we have to deal with.
Yep. All right, number 3 for me, Batman. I remember back in '89 when Batmania hit the United States.
Oh my gosh,
again.
that movie, that was such a good movie. I love that rendition of Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Tim Burton fan at all.
The soundtrack
there was no way any director was going to screw up that movie. I mean,
that soundtrack alone, all those Prince songs.
Not the Prince songs.
I loved the Prince songs.
I hated the Prince songs.
Oh, I loved it. I don't know what your problem is, dude. They were amazing.
Bat Dance? No.
Yeah. It was fun. It was goofy. It went... Because what it did for me, that movie, it brought in the best of, like, the campy 60s Batman that I loved, and mixed it with, like, the dark, brooding Batman. It was...
But the Prince songs were like an audio version of a laxative. It just wasn't good.
No, they were good. I liked it a lot.
Okay, you are not wrong. I am not wrong. I did not care for
that. Wrong. Just teasing. But yeah, I thought the Prince soundtrack was good. I thought the score was good. I owned both of them. I was obsessed with that movie when it came out.
I mean, that's the opening theme is for my money, the last great superhero major chord theme that until at least the Avengers theme song, and that's pushing it. There really hasn't been that type of major because come on, I mean, how many movie themes went on to be successful TV show theme songs? I mean, that theme ended up becoming the theme song for Batman the animated series, and look how well that show did. But
Well,
just
Danny Elfman's an amazing composer.
he is. But the character too has so much flexibility. You can do so much with it. I mean, around that era, that's when Nickelodeon started replaying the original Batman series. And when I watched it back in the day, at first I didn't get it. I didn't realize that it was meant to be a comedy.
Yeah.
I just thought it was stupid.
I watched it in reruns. They used to play reruns of it locally on Sunday mornings. They had Saturday morning cartoons, and on Sundays, a couple of our local stations had some. There was a program that they played called Bumpity.
Okay.
And Bumpity was literally a bump on a log. Yeah, it was strange, but
this was entertainment to us in the 80s kids.
Yeah, so they did that, and they would play like cartoons and stuff with it. But that was on Sundays, and then they also would. Then after Bumpity came Batman, and I loved it. And what was cool is that my uncle used to have the soundtrack album for the Batman series, and he gave it to me, so I would listen to it on my record player.
Oh.
And so I had like all the music and there that played like scenes from the show on the record and stuff. It was so fun.
I will tell you, one of the biggest delights I had was it was in honor of Adam West passing away at the Hollywood Theater in Portland. They decided to show the 1966 Batman movie.
Oh.
Saw it on the big screen. And, just everything about it. That if you get a chance to see that with a group of people, that is the perfect movie to watch, because you're going to die laughing throughout. I mean, just the part about halfway through where Bruce Wayne he's pretending he's Bruce Wayne, he's trapped in the villain's house, but then he dresses up as Batman because there's a bomb in the villain's house, and he takes that bomb, he runs onto a pier, and he's trying to throw it into the water, but there's a couple romantically rowing by, there's a group of ducks, there's nuns, there's this, there's that, and then he goes, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Oh my god,
things like that. And then like the part where they had a helicopter, Batman and Robin were in a helicopter, and I think it was the Penguin who shot this disruptor beam at the helicopter and caused it to crash, and you thought, oh no, they're gonna die, but then you see Batman and Robin with the helicopter is on top of some mattresses, and I think it was Batman said something like, we're so lucky we landed by this mattress store.
Do you know what I saw at the Hollywood that's related to this topic? They played Superman cartoons, the really old ones from the 30s and 40s.
Ah, the Max Fleischer.
And then they accompanied them with live music and live people voicing all the roles. They had all the scripts. It was really cool. That was really fun.
That would have been cool to see.
Yeah.
But last on my list, I mean, Mount Rushmore. You got to have a list of 4. This is going to be my 4th. And again, for longtime listeners of the show, it's probably not that big of a surprise. Guess.
Wonder Woman?
No.
I don't know then.
Miss Marvel.
Oh.
Kamala Khan.
That makes sense.
Those books from G. Willow Wilson and the other teams involved. I don't remember the other names, but there are plenty of other creators that are involved in that series, and I know there's a new writer on that series, and I forget his name, but he's on Twitter. But just Miss Marvel from day one has been one hell of a relatable comic. It details the life of 15-year-old Pakistani American Kamala Khan. Her family her family worships in the Islam faith, but the beauty of that comic is that it's presented as just a day in the life, and it is a beautiful comic. The art from day one, I feel, even though it's not like perfect like you would expect other comic books to be, I always got the impression that the artist was given the mandate to treat it as if Kamala was making a comic of her own life.
I think it's perfect. I love that comic too.
It is absolutely perfect. Just if you get a chance, read that comic, and I cannot wait for the Disney Plus Miss Marvel show.
Oh, they're doing a Miss Marvel show?
They're doing a Miss Marvel.
Oh, live action or animated?
Live action, and more than likely, you're going to see Kamala Khan in Captain Marvel 2 because of that.
I'm excited for that then.
I am.
That should be really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
All right, I named my Mount Rushmore.
Okay, my Mount Rushmore. We'll start with number 1 for me. I bet you can guess.
Mr. Mxyzptlk? No. Superman.
No. Wonder Woman.
Okay, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. She...
Dun, 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 dun,
I mean, ever since I used to watch the reruns of the 70s show when I was a kid, with the satin tights fighting for our rights... Oh my gosh. And Linda Carter as Wonder Woman. Just amazing.
There's another person. There's been like 4 people, like Christopher Reeve, Gal Gadot, Linda Carter, and Michael Keaton were born to play the superhero characters that
exactly.
they played.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. I love Wonder Woman. I've always loved Wonder Woman. I can't get enough Wonder Woman.
She better show up in Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, Linda Carter? I think she might. There have been hints.
I mean, I know for a fact that, Patty Jenkins, during the creation of the first movie, it talked extensively with Linda Carter about the character. So.
I follow Linda Carter on Facebook, and she had mentioned that a couple of times. And
she better show up.
Yeah.
I will squeal like a fangirl if that happens.
Yeah, I love Wonder Woman. I have 9 different Wonder Woman figurines on my desk at work. I love Wonder Woman. She embodies everything that what Tim said about Superman. For me, that's what she is. She's just awesome. Mm-hmm. I love Wonder Woman. Number 2. Do you know who my number 2 might be? Can you guess?
Spawn.
No.
No, I don't know who.
Batman.
Okay.
Because I love Batman. Because I love just all the stuff we just talked about. If you couldn't tell, I was very enthusiastic about the 1989 movie. That's one reason. The campy 60s show that we just gushed about, that's another reason. I've always liked Batman.
Did you, I think you were in college by that time, but Batman the Animated Series.
I never really got into that because I always kind of liked the campier version. And I know that's not the real version of Batman or whatever people want to say, but I like all the different Batmans. I've liked pretty much all the Batman movies, even the bad ones. And, I like Batman. I always have.
Okay.
It's just the way I think.
Boom.
Number 3. Can you guess?
Vampirella.
No.
Who?
Wolverine.
Okay.
I like Wolverine.
Len Wein.
What?
Created by Len Wein.
I like Wolverine. I like all the X-Men for that matter, but I've always liked Wolverine just because he's kind of grouchy and grumpy, but at heart, he's a good guy. He's a good person. He's been treated badly. He's got issues. But I love him because he's always himself.
And he's hairy, like me.
I like fuzzy guys. That's true. That's true. But I don't know if you saw the more recent of the X-Men movies where it was Wolverine. I can't remember the name of it, but he was older and he was helping Professor X.
Oh, Logan?
Logan, yeah. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, that was a good movie. It made me cry. It was really good. Really, really good. And I like Hugh Jackman. I've always liked Hugh Jackman. He's a good guy, too.
And he's not... That's what... Hugh Jackman with Wolverine is what people need to keep in mind when it comes to Hollywood casting, because if Hollywood decided to cast Wolverine just exactly like he was in the comic books, they would have gone for a Bob Hoskins type. Because back in the because Wolverine in the comics is only about 5 feet tall.
Yeah, he's kind of a
short,
he's
swarthy
kind of
guy.
He's a short, swarthy guy. He grumbles.
Yeah, I think even Danny DeVito at one point may have been up for that role.
Oh, he's always going to be the Penguin in my mind, though. He was such
Michael
a good
Keaton
Penguin.
was always Batman, but look at what they did with the Vulture. I mean,
what?
He was the Vulture in Spider-Man: Far From Home.
I still haven't seen that. You keep thinking I've seen that, but I haven't seen that.
Wow.
Do you recall that we watched it together one time?
I thought we did.
Yeah, we like watched it for about 30 minutes and then started making out, and I didn't see anything else after that. So I haven't seen that movie. That movie doesn't count as me having watched it.
Okay.
All right.
You didn't suck it in by osmosis?
No, I was
Maybe I shouldn't use that phrasing for what we were doing.
No, I was distracted.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, no.
All right, so yeah, Wolverine is my number 3 because
Friends talking nerdy after dark.
he's just cool. I like Wolverine.
All right, number 4.
Number 4. Can you guess? You haven't been able to guess any of these.
Donald Duck.
Donald Duck is not a superhero. He has a comic book, yes, but he's not a superhero. Come on.
Blade.
No.
Okay, who?
Deadpool. Because he's a goofball. He's got a mouth. He says what he wants to say. He doesn't give a fuck. And I like that. And I haven't been into Deadpool as long, but I've enjoyed what I've read. I've enjoyed the way that he's been portrayed in the movies. The movies have been hilarious. I liked both movies.
One of the creators of Deadpool, Rob Liefeld, actually blocked me on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why was that?
What I think it was, and I feel horrible about this because I think that if I had had a chance to ask him in person, he would know that I was not, asking the question in a malicious fashion. But after Stan Lee passed away, some video unearthed of an interview that Stan Lee did with both Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane, where Stan Lee was busting their balls throughout the interview. Mm-hmm. I did not personally, when I saw that interview, take it as Stan Lee as insulting them, but just more, the jocular, male joking around type of deal.
Yeah.
But asking that so soon after Stan Lee passed away, when I realized after the fact that I probably wasn't the only one asking him, and there were other people asking similar questions, but were not as nice, I can understand why he blocked me. So it's just like one of those, I feel bad, and if I ever had a chance to see him in person, I would, I would apologize. Yeah, because it wasn't malicious on my part, but, anyway, Deadpool, I'm in the same boat. I mean, my interest in the character, admittedly, came about because of the original Ryan Reynolds Deadpool test footage. Mm-hmm. Because before the movie came out, it was not guaranteed to be made, but there was some test footage that nobody knows, wink wink, how it leaked out, which was essentially the opening scene of the movie. Mm-hmm. Where he jumps off the highway and kills everybody, but it's slightly different, but it was just really, really well done. And then once I saw that, then I dived into the comics on Marvel Unlimited, and come on, you can't help but fall in love.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's great. So my Mount Rushmore. Mount Hood's a local mountain to here, those of you who are listening from other places. Mount Rushmore is Wonder Woman, Batman, Wolverine, and Deadpool. I'm picturing them all together. I think Wonder Woman will have to be over here, and then over here, and yeah, okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm like a transformer in my brain.
Now,
assembling.
We have a little more cleanup to do based on topics we talked about last week. We have some further information about RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes, RuPaul's Drag Race. I just watched episode 3 right before we got on the microphone to record this. And so, yeah, there's a big controversy with RuPaul's Drag Race. One of the contestants, Sherry Pie, was outed as having done some catfishing, acting as a casting director, getting men to do embarrassing and sometimes naked things, thinking that she was casting for a musical or a movie, things of that nature. That all came to light as she was finishing up this season of RuPaul's Drag Race, and she's been disqualified. So apparently she made it all the way to the finale, because she's been disqualified from the finale and they're reshooting it. So, which
means she probably won.
I don't think that they had got to the point where they declared a winner yet, but she's disqualified, which is a shame, because they're still showing that they have a disclaimer before the episodes saying that they acknowledge that Sherry Pie is a terrible person. This is not their words, this is my words. They're basically acknowledging that Sherry Pie is a terrible person and catfishing is wrong and you shouldn't do it, and that they don't want to diminish the contributions of the other queens on the show, because there are a lot of great queens this season. This is a good season. Season 12 is where it's at. These are good. I like, the thing is if I like all of the queens so far, I don't have a definite favorite or a definite, like, wah wah, I don't like them. That's a good show. It's going to make for some really good TV.
Except for Gigi. What a horrible name.
Shut up. Anyway, so the disclaimer basically says, Sherry's terrible. We're sorry. We're going to air the episodes because we don't want to take away from the other queens. So this episode, she did really well at the challenge and she won $5,000. At the end of the episode, they said, we're not giving her $5,000. We're donating $5,000 to the Trevor Project instead. Which I thought was good. I don't know if you heard of the Trevor Project. Have you heard of the Trevor?
Of course.
Do you know what they do?
I know they help young LGBTQ folks that are in dangerous situations, stuff like that.
Yeah, they operate a 24-hour crisis line to help queer youth, basically young adults, people 25 and under, and they offer resources for educators and parents and other people and how to help their queer youth, which is a great organization. They're a good organization to support. So I'm glad that they're getting $5,000 because they deserve it. What's really a shame is that Sherry Pie is very talented. I'm really torn because I'm like, she's really talented. She's really good. She's exactly the kind of queen that I would like. And she's done this terrible, terrible thing. She'd like basically abused these people. And I'm just like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that. And it's hard for me to watch the show knowing that someone I already know part of the outcome. And I don't like that either.
The way I see it is this, for situations like that, too often, depending on what someone does, and I'm not referring to somebody, like a Woody Allen level of egregious sin.
God.
I'm talking for somebody that just makes a stupid fucking mistake in their life. I don't believe people are irredeemable, but I also believe there needs to be a lot of space depending on what that person did between the time they acknowledge what they did wrong and the time that other people in their lives, whether in this case if they're a celebrity, whether it's people that they actually know or fans of that person, can sit back and say, okay, that person is redeemed. Because too often I see folks immediately want to either make sure that person never sees a source of income again and is immediately shunned from society, or B, totally pretend that nothing bad happened whatsoever and try and give that person all the money in the world.
Maybe there's a middle ground. Maybe there's a C where the person, like in this case, she basically abused these people, but at the same time it wasn't physical abuse, it was mental abuse.
But mental abuse
and
that's going to last
a lot longer. I'm just thinking as if she did. I'm hoping that he, whatever you want, however you want to. Yeah. I'm hoping that they are getting some kind of therapy, extensive therapy, and I hope what they do is they take this time that they're not going to be able to make any money, and they give it back to the community in some way, whether it's volunteering in some way, like there's a lot of organizations for various facets of the queer community that need people to help, whether it's food banks or AIDS patients that need help with care, volunteering in a hospice.
Yeah, because catfishing folks in the LGBTQ community is nothing like catfishing a heterosexual person, because the heterosexual person is not going to face the other social stigmas, depending on where they live in the country, that a person of the LGBTQ community is going to face. So that is definitively a much more egregious sin. I mean, catfishing is just bad, period. But
yeah. If it had just been that she was faking these people out, thinking that they were getting a casting, but she got She got one guy to like record all these dirty sentences that he was saying, and she got another guy to masturbate on camera. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That if she hadn't done those two things, it would have been like, okay, so they're just basically insecure about dating, but no, they took it to the next level, and that's why I'm like, I don't know, I'm disgusted and saddened by the whole situation.
I mean, more than likely, let's be honest. I mean, even you, a fan of the drag community, a year from now, you're probably not going to remember this person.
I think I probably will, though.
But not to the point that you're feeling right now. It just may
No, not to the point that I'm feeling right now.
You know, and then 5 years from now, who knows? I mean, that's another thing, too, I've noticed, that sometimes people get uptight and just really not uptight, that's the wrong word, but just really passionate about voicing their anger at a celebrity doing something wrong, when that celebrity, the moments before, when they did not hear what that person did, they knew nothing about and could care less.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, I didn't know who this person was up until the season started.
But at least you're the type of person that, you know, is going to have a little empathy and, you know, would cheer, you know, somewhere down the road, a redemption story. Someone, you know, working
I guess it would depend on, it all depends on the situation. I mean, if they're making the effort to better themselves.
Oh, of course.
And
that's
they're
what I meant by that. Yeah,
and they're making the effort to give back to the community, sure. If they're just basically going to sit on their ass and go, oh, poor me, I'm going to be like, well, fuck you then. So.
I mean, everybody wants to see a Robert Downey Jr. type of story.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Definitely.
So.
That's the truth.
Yep. Well, yesterday, we're recording this on Saturday, March 14th. Yesterday was Friday the 13th.
Oh,
Ooh.
Scary, spooky.
Yeah. And 40 years ago, this little independent movie about a mother who got revenge on camp counselors that allowed her children to die debuted on May 9th, of all days. Friday the 13th, which...
Was it... Oh, there goes the microphone. I don't know if you heard that.
They heard that.
They heard that. All right, so...
You just said hi. No.
I was just like, it was really 40 years ago.
40 years ago,
so I was 6 when this came out?
1980.
No wonder I haven't seen it. I was 6 when it came out.
Yeah,
1980?
and... Yep, it was... Friday the 13th was in response to Halloween, which came out a couple years beforehand, but once Friday the 13th was as successful as it was, being a low-budget independent movie, you know, any sort of profit on that was going to be astronomical, you know, based on how much money they spent on making the movie. So, a lot of movies...
Our ramshackle microphone.
Yeah, our professional studio's here. Great.
Yeah, our professional studio is falling apart.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think I might have a bruise now on my stomach where the microphone landed.
All right. What Friday the 13th did, though, was birth a little phenomenon in the 80s of the slasher movies, horror movies. Gave them a modern for the time renaissance.
That's true.
You know, and
took us away from monster movies too, didn't it? So a lot of horror movies were monster movies, kind of before this time, weren't they? I don't know. I was a baby.
I mean, in the 70s, you had more of the spiritual type of stuff because of The Exorcist, The Omen, Children of the Corn.
I thought those were spookier than a lot of the slasher movies. The spiritual stuff gives me the creeps.
I don't know, but that's what I want to talk about right now. Just kind of favorite horror. I mean, for me, my absolute favorite horror movies are going to be the Nightmare on Elm Street films.
I like the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I've seen a few. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen a couple of them, but I've enjoyed them. I've
even seen the Nightmare on Elm Street TV show.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a... That's right, there wasn't there?
Yeah. Parents were so scared about it, though, that I know in our town we had, it was the ultra conservative West Michigan, and the ABC station was the only station that allowed it to play, but it was 11:30 at night on a Saturday. And all that show was, it wasn't even like an actual Nightmare on Elm Street series. It was just essentially like the Freddy Krueger was the host and acting essentially in a Rod Serling type of role to stories that played.
Kind of like Tales from the Crypt kind of thing?
Something like that, yeah.
Now, see, I don't really have a favorite horror movie. I really loved Tales from the Crypt, though. I loved those, like, because I love the comics, the Tales from the Crypt comics. Mm-hmm. All of those strange tales. Oh, I love those. I love those so much. They're spooky and they're creepy and they're perfect.
Now, I don't know if you've seen this. I haven't seen the movie, but I did read the comic book back in grade school, of all things, because it was in my 5th and 6th grade teacher's library collection. Mm-hmm. Creepshow.
I think I haven't read the comic, but I've seen the movie.
Yeah, that was directed by George Romero and written by Stephen King. There was one part I remember. It was a segment they had with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson, where I guess Ted Danson was cheating with Leslie Nielsen's wife. So what Leslie Nielsen did was, I guess there was a part of the ocean that he brought him to, and then like dug a big hole up and only his head was exposed. And then like when the tide came in, it ended up drowning him.
And the crabs would eat his face.
Yeah. So there was that, but just the comic book, with Ted Danson's head. And at this time, Cheers was all the rage.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can imagine.
And you're seeing Sam Malone in, I'm like 5th grade, like underwater, like drowning.
Was this the one that had the "thanks for the ride, lady"?
Might have been. Again, I didn't see the movie, so.
Oh, you didn't see the movie?
Yeah.
Because I remember there was this horror movie where, like, this woman, like, hit this guy and he just, like, clung onto the car and was like, "Thanks for the ride, lady." I don't remember exactly. I don't remember which one of the horror movies it was, but it was kind of creepy and funny all at once.
Yeah. Another kind of horror movie around this time that doesn't get much play because of an on-set death was Twilight Zone, the movie.
I never saw that movie.
I would recommend this. It has its moments, but it's 4 separate stories. Only one is an original story, the John Landis one that resulted in the death of 2 children and legendary actor Vic Morrow. But the last 2 stories are just amazing. I mean, one is from Joe Dante, who later went on to write and direct Gremlins. He did a story about a little boy who could imagine anything and it became real. And like there was one instance where he sent his sister into a cartoon world and a big cartoon monster ate his sister. But that sister was Nancy Cartwright, Bart Simpson.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. And then they had a scene in there where like you walk past this bedroom and he meets up with this woman at the beginning of the story and then lures her back to his home, but they pass by this bedroom. He goes, "That's my sister. She hasn't talked in a while." And you only see the sister's eyes, but then the camera pulls back and you see the sister has no mouth.
It always creeps me out when I see makeup done like that, where like they've erased a part of the body. Like a part of your face,
yeah,
where it's just like a face but missing like a nose, or a face and you're missing your eyes, and it just always gets me because it's just like it's so jarring because it's just automatic in your brain. You look at somebody, you're like eyes, nose, mouth, ears, and you got the face.
Yeah,
and it's just like when they're missing, it's like ugh.
Yeah, but the MVP of that movie was the last segment that was directed by George Miller from Mad Max fame. Was the retelling of Nightmare at 20,000 Feet with John Lithgow.
I think I did see that. I remember that.
Yeah, because there was a scene where halfway through, after he initially freaks out, the stewardess calms him down and he takes like a sleeping pill and whatnot, and he's trying to get to sleep, but then the music just starts going up slowly, and then there's like the constant drum beat that mimics a heartbeat, and he's sleeping. Suddenly he opens his eyes, goes to the window, opens it up, and there's the monster. And then they do this great little cut to where it looks like John Lithgow's eyes are literally popping out of his head, but it's just like momentary. And
I love John Lithgow. He's good in everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to see the movie for that, watch it for that. The first 2 segments that The Murderer, John Landis did, and Steven Spielberg did. Completely missable. You can ignore those, and you will not miss anything. Stick around at the beginning of the movie, though. There's a great little opening with Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd. They do a little bit where they're, driving down the road and they're having fun guessing TV show theme songs. And then Dan Aykroyd is riding along and goes, "You want to see something scary?" And then Albert Brooks is like, "Yeah." He goes, "Pull over." So Albert Brooks pulls over and goes, "Yeah, what are you doing?" So Dan Aykroyd hides his face, turns around, he's a werewolf, and then he kills Albert Brooks.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, and then, of course, in the 90s, you had stuff like Scream come along.
Yeah, the Scream movies were good. I liked those.
The first two were good. Anything after that was absolute garbage. I hated Scream 3. I mean, Parker Posey was in that. My God, she's a horrible actress.
I like Parker Posey.
She's... Ugh.
Anyway.
Everything that is wrong with actresses.
Okay, then.
She's just... I am an actress. Just everything is fake about her.
I disagree with you, so...
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say.
All right. But I'm sure in times like these, when people are suddenly having a lot more time to watch stuff on TV, you may have some suggestions.
I may have something to say with regards to that.
All right.
So I was thinking, what if you're quarantined, you can't go anywhere? What do? You curl up on the couch with some Netflix, and hopefully you had some popcorn already stashed away in the cupboards. Make yourself some microwave popcorn. Turn on Netflix, and depending on what you like to watch, there's going to be something there to binge. So I got some suggestions for you. So if you're into like reality TV and you like the dating reality shows, I don't generally like those, but I liked this one I saw on Netflix. It's called Love is Blind. There's been a lot of people talking about it because basically the setup is that all these people are signing up for this experiment. That the premise is they're going to be in these pods where they can talk to each other, but they can't see each other. And they're soundproof, so they can't hear any of the other couples around them. So these people go into these pods, and then they have like 10 days to get to know somebody in the pods, and then decide, sight unseen, if they want to marry this person.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds kind of contrived, but once you start to see some of these people, you start to really like them. There's one person in particular, her name's Lauren. I wish she was my best friend. She's really cool. I like her. Anyway, it's kind of a cheesy show, but you got time. Why not?
Okay.
If you like makeup type reality shows, or like makeup fashion stuff, Glow Up. It's a makeup artist competition. Fun. I love stuff like that. Queer Eye. You can't go wrong with Queer Eye. There's 3 seasons of it on Netflix for you to watch. The brand new Queer Eye. I don't remember if they have the older versions from the 90s. But the brand new stuff is really good too. There's Queer Eye and then there's Queer Eye in Japan. Both of those are fun to watch. Binge them. If you like costume dramas, Call the Midwife. It's a show that was on PBS and Masterpiece Theater. It's a BBC show. It's set in Britain right after World War II. And it's these women who are working as midwives and driving all over the bombed out parts of London, helping people give birth, and they were some of the only healthcare that some of these really poor people saw. It's really interesting, and some of the actresses are, well, actually all of the people who are acting in this are amazing. It's really good. The books are really good. Call the Midwife. You will like it. If you like costume dramas, you will like it. And then there's a classic from the 90s, Gilmore Girls. I like Gilmore Girls. I liked it a lot. I binged it. It was good.
Okay.
I got a couple of classic movies, classic in my mind, that are really good to see. And if you haven't seen them, I don't know what you've been doing, but you have to see these 2 movies. One is Tootsie.
Never seen that, but I do remember that was in the same movie theater that was showing E.T. When I first saw my
Yeah,
first
it came out in 1982.
Yeah.
And the premise behind that is a out-of-work actor trying to get jobs, decides to audition for a soap opera, dressed up like a woman, and he gets the part. And he goes on to be like this huge feminist inspiration on this show, inspiring all these women.
But it's Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman. I know. It's kind of cheesy, but at the time it was kind of controversial because It involved cross-dressing.
Oh no.
I know it shows its age, but at times, it shows its age. But overall, I think it's a really good movie. I think it's good for people to see it. The other one I have is Shawshank Redemption. If you haven't seen the Shawshank Redemption, where have you been?
I've read the story.
It's a great story. It's one of the best movies ever. I think it's definitely on my top 10 movies of all time. The Shawshank Redemption. I love Tom Robbins.
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins.
I know my Tims.
Okay, Tim Robbins. I am just not with it tonight, people. Tim Robbins is great. And Morgan Freeman. I mean, come on, it's Morgan Freeman. I don't know. I liked it. I think it's a good movie based on a Steven Spielberg story. Not Steven Spielberg. Stephen King. I'm a mess, Tim. I'm a mess. What am I gonna do?
We can talk about the album of the week.
The album of the week.
All right, it was your choice this week.
It was my choice. It was the Pixies, Doolittle, from 1989. If you're not familiar with the Pixies, they are an alternative rock band formed in 1986 from Boston, Massachusetts. They broke up briefly in the 90s, got back together in the 2000s. I think they needed money. Anyway, they've inspired quite a few bands along the way. I've really enjoyed them.
Like Menudo. I'm kidding.
Menudo. Seriously, Tim. This is one of my favorite albums. This is my favorite album by the Pixies. I like this album a lot.
Now, for our disclaimer, as always, the opinions we give, whether positive or negative, are just that, are opinions. We strongly encourage you, no matter how many albums this artist has sold or not, we encourage you to check this out, because even if one of us says something that you disagree with, music is beautiful. You don't know if you're going to like something unless you try it out.
Exactly. 1 second, I'm just... I'm fumbling my phone. I'm fumbling everything today.
Yeah, you're going to come up with a concussion at the end of this show.
I know, I am. So I just wanted to go over the lineup for it. The lineup is Black Francis. He's the vocals, the rhythm guitar. Joey Santiago, lead guitar. Kim Deal on the bass, backing vocals. And David Levering on the drums. So,
and Lionel Richie.
Tim?
Okay, maybe not.
All right, so the Pixies, track 1, Debaser. I like this song a lot. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. I love the bass line it starts out with. It starts out with that really strong bass line, and I just can't get enough of that bass line. I love that bass line. Thoughts?
Well, I wrote that they had to be influenced by The Cure. The sound definitely has a Cure type of vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the vocal mix was a mess for this song. That's going to be a common thread throughout my criticism of this. A lot of the music I did enjoy in a lot of ways, but just the vocals as they were presented, not my cup of tea.
Yeah. That's a lot of how quite a few alternative bands were recorded, though, at this time. That messy vocal mix was kind of a
messy
trademark.
And that ended up becoming cliche. I mean, I think
it did at one point become cliche. Definitely.
I mean, I did say the word cliche in my notes here, but I did realize too that these guys they gave birth to that cliche than anything. So it's just, again, not my cup of tea, and I don't pretend to like artists that can pass off as opera singers. I mean, I'm a fan of AC/DC after all. It's just, it has to be the right type of vocals for the right type of song, and it just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, Black Francis is he's one of those guys that if you don't like him, you just don't like him. The way because he does, there's times when he sings and there's times when he does this kind of scream sing.
Yeah,
and I like it when he sings, but I don't like the scream singing quite so much. There's a couple of tracks on here when he was screaming, and it just was kind of bugging me.
Like the next one.
Like the next song, actually. Yeah. It was called Tame. As much as I love this album, and I have stars by a lot of these tracks that are like my favorites, this was not one of them, and it's because he just starts going time, and it's just
For me, I wrote that the bass was all right, but the vocals were just ugh. I think for this particular song, he was influenced by John Lennon. On John Lennon's first solo album, the Plastic Ono Band, he did a song called "Mother." That incorporated because John Lennon went to therapy, and one of the therapies he went to was primal scream therapy. And the end of the song "Mother" was him singing "Mama Go." It's like, "Mama don't go, Daddy come home," and just screaming, just like, yeah. And I think the singer was trying to mimic it, but again, didn't do it for me.
Yeah, it's annoying. It was definitely annoying. But
remember, again, that is simply my opinion.
Yeah.
I for folks that may be listening to this show for the first time here, the beauty of what Kim and I do with these reviews is we give our honest opinion and we don't take it personally.
Yeah.
You know, because it is not a personal attack to me when she says that she does not like music I care for, and vice versa.
Yep, I don't take it personally. Primal screaming is good though. Have you ever done that?
When I was married, but for different reasons, but you know.
Yeah, well, when I was in college, around the same time I was enjoying this album, we used to do this during finals week. Is we'd go out to the middle of the quad on campus at night and just stand out in the middle of the quad and just scream.
How many drugs were being used?
I think this was during finals, so it was like we were all like really hopped up on coffee and stuff.
Oh,
There's a lot of caffeine involved just to get our frustrations out. And it really feels good. It's a really, really good feeling to just scream. Campus security came a couple times. It was me and some of my dorm friends doing it. But they were just like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "We're screaming out our frustrations and then we're going to go cramp some more." They're like, "Okay. As long as you're not out here drinking."
Well, I can imagine it's the audio equivalent of, hitting a pillow.
Pretty much. I mean, you're just roaring it out and you get down to your throat feels a little raw and you're like, damn, I feel good though.
Yep.
All right, track 3 is Wave of Mutilation. This is definitely one of my favorite songs on the album. There's a slow version that they do as well. It was on a soundtrack for, oh gosh, what was the name of that movie? Sorry. I'm like, we're having all kinds of issues tonight. What was the name of the movie? Christian Slater, Underground Radio DJ.
Pump Up the Jams.
Pump up the volume. It was featured in that movie soundtrack. Pump Up the Volume, slower version of Wave of Mutilation. If you want to check it out, you could probably find it on YouTube. But they slow it all down and they do it more like a ballad, and this is kind of like it's more upbeat. But I like the slow version better, but I still like the song.
Christian Slater's still doing his "I'm Jack Nicholson" impression.
Yeah, he was still kind of doing his Jack Nicholson impression.
I'm surprised he wasn't able to make his career last as, I mean, he's popping up and stuff now, but I'm surprised he didn't last as long as he did. I mean,
I think he might have had a drug problem in there.
Still, I mean, so did Robert Downey Jr. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's just knowing the right people.
And maybe not even knowing the right people. Maybe he just had enough money scrolled away and he just didn't want to do it. He just didn't feel like acting for a while.
Yeah. He's on that. He's been on the show Mr. Robot.
Yeah, that show's actually quite good.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not like he, is doing like QVC, or anything like that.
Like Christian Slater collection on QVC.
Buy Mike's custom hair gel, man.
Got these black shirts, these black pants.
Yeah. Winona Ryder, approved this.
She stole it for me.
Oh, isn't it weird that she could be somebody's mother now?
Well,
or even somebody's grandmother.
She was somebody's mother. She played Spock's mom in the new Star Trek movies.
But still, I'm talking in real life more than anything. I mean, she's
I know. She's a mom on that that TV show on Netflix she's on, Stranger Things.
Still, I mean, what is she? Darn near 50 now? Like,
yeah, she's around our age.
Yeah. Anyway, for the song in question, first thing I wrote was Ugh. The vocals again. The music was good. I didn't have a problem with that, and I did note that, the more I listened to it, if this were an instrumental album, I probably would have enjoyed it more, kind of along the same lines of the Jane's Addiction response, but I don't have a good impression for this. Let's put it that way.
All right.
The vocals for me, I just didn't care for. There was too much affect, and this is where I wrote that I feel that the vocals were the musical equivalent of Parker Posey. They sing the way they think singers should sing instead of finding something that's personal and emotional to them. It's just an affect. It's not real. There's no passion to it, in my opinion.
Wow. I pretty much disagree with regards to there not being any passion.
And that's the beauty of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are both right here. It's just, again, my cup of tea. I did not care for it.
Alright, so track 4 is called I Bleed. This is one of my lesser favorite tracks on the album, but when that time of the month comes around, sometimes I'll put this on and just scream, I bleed! I bleed!
So if you have a period playlist...
yeah, add this one to it. I bleed!
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Period playlist.
I bet if you search Spotify, you will find some.
I'm sure, and it would be scary music that, just one of those type of dog whistle songs that anytime a man hears it, they immediately get scared and, look for the nearest exit.
It's either going to be a bunch of, angry stuff screaming.
Like Evanescence songs over and over again. Or
it's going to be a bunch of, really slow, sad stuff. Because, period playlist, you're going to go mood swings. Mood swings. Mood swings.
How could you go from the B-52s to type O negative? Shut up.
Yeah. Don't even ask. Why are you asking me that? No. There's actually on Spotify, there's a coronavirus playlist that I looked at that was pretty funny.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Well,
Don't Stand So Close to Me and songs like that.
People suck. All right. The notes I wrote, I miss Jane's Addiction.
Oh my God, Tim.
I mean, the guitars were solid. Musically, the song is fine, but the vocals just... the guitar work at the end, though, you could tell Kurt Cobain was a fan. And I, read after I, took my notes here that, Nirvana, when they made Nevermind, they definitely thought it was sounding like a Pixies album. And, the influence is definitely there. But vocally, ooh.
Okay, then. Track 5, Here Comes Your Man. I absolutely love the guitar riff. The guitar riff. Guitar riff.
Rift in a hole of time.
Riff that happens at the beginning of the song. The dun 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 dun. It's just starts right up, and it's every time I hear that, I'm just like, oh, a Pixies song.
Pixies. There's a new part. Hey, Pixies! Hey! I wrote, musically, I liked how it opened like a mid-60s garage band love song.
Mm-hmm. That guitar riff is great.
Yeah, and I wrote, this is tolerable. It's not obnoxious vocally. It'll never top my list on greatest songs ever, but it is what it is. I had some enjoyment. And the vocals were okay.
Okay.
And for me, that says something.
It does. Track 6 is Dead. That's the name of the song. It's not that it's dead. It's called Dead. This was another one that had some of that screaming stuff that I don't like. But the bass, Kim Deal on the bass, she's just great. The bass all through this album, this song in particular was one that I really liked the bass work on it.
I wrote that the song seems like someone's idea of grunge who has never heard a grunge album before.
Well, this was before the whole grunge stuff.
I
It's
know.
89.
It's creating the cliches.
It's creating the cliches, yes.
Honestly, it was barely 2 minutes long, but it felt like it went on forever. I did not care for it.
Yeah, these songs are all pretty short. I mean, this album has 15 songs on it, but they're all pretty short. It's like
Yeah, I
about a
think the
running
longest
time.
one is like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, the running time for the whole album is like 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
So, track 7 is Monkey Gone to Heaven. I don't really like the vocals on this, but I like the idea behind it.
About a monkey going to heaven?
It just, I don't know. That's a pretty good monkey.
I know.
Who's my monkey face? No.
Okay.
Oh, shut up. Oh, I knew that was going to happen at some point. Oh my god. Monkey Gone to Heaven. I like the song. I don't know why, I just do. Sometimes the vocals get a little whiny, but I still like the song.
I wrote for my notes that the song was too slow paced for my liking. The bass overpowered the song, which wouldn't have been an issue if the bass player was doing a little bit more than boom, boom, boom. But it was just, you know, if you're going to feature the bass as prominently in a song as they did for this particular one, I want them to err on the side of, you know, being like a new John Entwistle or a Geddy Lee, just someone who goes up and down the frets on a bass instead of just a simple boom, boom, boom. And, you know, the guitar work was too cliche. Again, I noted that the cliche that I'm talking about is, you know, they are creating that cliche, but it is what it is. But just not my cup of tea, too slow for my taste.
All right, track 8, Mr. Greaves. This one, it's kind of weird. It starts out kind of slow, and then all of a sudden it's like, dun, dun, and I believe in Mr. Greaves. Do you have an opinion? Just goes on.
I do have an opinion.
Yeah. Do you have an opinion?
To me, I felt that it was a bad attempt at reggae to start the song.
Is that reggae?
It sounded like reggae.
It didn't sound like reggae to me.
Yeah, like a bad attempt at it. But then it breaks into I don't know what. The guitar was all right, but glad it was over.
Okay, track 9 is Crackety Jones.
Crackety Jones.
I like this one. I like Crackety Jones because it's real speedy. It's real speedy, and I like the guitar in it.
Oh.
Crackety Jones.
I don't know what it is about this album, and the more notes I took about this album, the more I felt bad because I don't want to come across like I'm intentionally making fun of it or not, but I just did not care for it. You know, the guitar work was fine. I had no problem with the guitar, but just
you just don't like Black Francis is what it comes down to.
At the end of the day, yeah, I mean, because again, it's the vocals. It was all over the place, and just not my thing.
All right, track 10 is La La Love You. And this song, it's kind of cute, but it's kind of stupid and kind of boring at the same time. Because basically all they say is, La La Love You don't mean maybe. All I'm saying, pretty baby. La La Love You don't mean maybe. All I'm saying, pretty baby.
Well, you're going to probably hit me for the note I put here, but did the opening of the song sound like a Spin Doctor song?
No?
It because I got the not like a note for note type of deal, but I got the vibe, you know, of like the Two Princes song. If you just go ahead now. And
well, you know what? Two Princes probably ripped this one off.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
they're just coming up with the ideas.
To be clear, Spin Doctors came later. I realized this, but it sounded like Spin Doctors.
Maybe. I guess I could see that.
And that's not a knock. Spin Doctors were fine for what they were.
The Spin Doctors were kind of crappy. They only had a couple decent songs.
Fine for what they were.
Yeah.
You know?
And I can see being that the Spin Doctors weren't that great, they would like pull ideas from other people and just be like, hey, look, we're on a video. We're doing a video.
Original, man. We're dressed
cool.
like hippies.
Yeah.
I did write the guitar work was pretty solid. It did remind me again of a 60s garage rock band type of song, and I could tell that they were influenced by the Smiths.
Definitely.
I
you
definitely
can hear the
heard
Smiths
that.
all over this.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
God.
We're pulling out the greatest hits today.
Track 11, number 13, baby. Being that this was Friday the 13th, I guess it's appropriate. Anyway, I've always liked this song. I'm not sure why. There's that line about the tattooed tit said number 13, I have been this close to getting the number 13 tattooed somewhere on my boob at some point, just to see, make that like a test, like when you start dating somebody and the clothes start to come off and they'd be like, if they saw your tit, if they said immediately, oh, I know what that's referencing, or if they were like, why do you have a 13 on your boob? And then you'd have to be like, you don't know who the Pixies are, do you? And you'd have to walk out the door. So for a while there, I was thinking it would be like a test when I was dating, and then I just, had to be responsible with my money, and I don't have a tattooed tits as number 13. And that's my story.
Okay. Imagine if your dad listens to that.
My dad will just be like, oh, Kim. My dad knows I'm a weirdo. He's known that for a long time.
Well, and think of all the people you'd be dismissing, too. Just because somebody does not like a particular band doesn't mean they wouldn't be a quality mate.
Yes, I know that's true, but at the same time...
think about how often I would not be dating if it was like, if I demanded every woman I dated love Motorhead or something like that. I wouldn't be dating.
I could tell you a story that would definitely explain that my dad knows that I'm a total freak.
Tell the story. Our audience wants to know. It's like
super embarrassing though.
Inquiring minds want to know. Because remember what Howard Stern said. The more you think it's a story you shouldn't tell, that's the story you should tell, because that's the one that the audience is going to grab onto.
I suppose that's true, but...
And if you say your story, then if I think of something comparable, I will.
I'm not going to tell it. It's too embarrassing. Nope.
Save it for episode 100?
Sure, maybe.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Track 12, There Goes My Gun.
You're like, after that last conversation.
Where's my gun? There Goes My Gun. I've always liked this one. It kind of... I don't know why. There's parts of it that that the vocals annoy me, but at the same time, I really like them. I'm just like, I wish he would quit screaming, but I kind of like the way he's screaming on this track, kind of a thing.
Well, for me, I wrote that the guitars were solid.
The guitars were very solid all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely had a 60s vibe to it again. The drums were noticeable in a good way. I definitely like the drum work, but yeah, the vocals, oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
So, track 13... they didn't need this track on the album. I like the bass line. That's really about it. It's the last... Yeah. It's one of those that if I'm listening to it, I usually will just skip the song.
Yeah, I wrote that I may have enjoyed this without the vocals. Or if they had a different singer. The guitar player... definitely, you could tell that guitar player influenced a lot of bands in the 90s. And this is another one where I noted why push the bass so far forward in the audio mix when the bass player is not really doing that much apart from rudimentary, boom, 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 type of bass playing. If you're going to feature the bass player that prominently on a song, they got to be doing something more than just very basic notes. I mean, sorry.
Well, basic notes is what they did at this point in musical history.
I get that, but still, it shows more on the producer than anything else. I mean, the bass on the audio should have just been lowered slightly so it's not as prominent, in my opinion.
Okay.
It shouldn't go away. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the bass is necessarily bad. But, when you are showing prominently one musician on that album, that musician, no matter the band, should, have some virtuosity and not just very basic rudimentary skills.
Well, they did have some virtuosity on other songs. It's just not this track.
Yeah.
Track 14, Silver. This track's just a throwaway. I don't like this song.
I actually, the vocals not so much, but I did like how it sounded like it belonged in a Western.
I think the reason why I don't like the song is because it sounds like it belongs in a Western. It just doesn't fit with the rest of the album.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It's different compared to what they did with the rest of the album. But if the instrumental to this was used in a new Western movie, I wouldn't mind.
Okay. Maybe we need to get the Pixies to score the next big Western movie.
Yeah, because those are always hitting the screen.
Track 15, Gouge Away. This is one of my favorite tracks on the album. I love that this album starts and ends with a strong bass line. I think I think the way they ordered this album, it had good bookends, so to speak. The first track and the last track are definitely two of my favorites on this album. But Gouge Away, it reminds me of this time in college where I was having a lot of trouble, a lot of anxiety, a lot of trouble sleeping and eating. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine who shall remain nameless, who might listen to this podcast actually, he made me a pot of tea with a big old herb in it. And you can imagine what that herb was. It was marijuana.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I had Earl Grey tea steeped with marijuana leaves. And it was really good. And I was really freaking high. And I was finally able to eat something and relax. And I felt I slept really, really well. So thank you, nameless person. Because I don't want him to get in trouble with his job. So
he's a priest now.
He's not a priest.
The notes I had sounded like a cliche. I mean, again, it created the cliche, but it just sounded like it's been done many times before. Bass is once again prominent without having much to do. The guitar work is barely passable. I wrote that the guitar work sounds like a wet dream from The Edge from U2.
What? The Edge is a terrible guitarist. He doesn't have much talent.
That's the point. I mean, it just...
But, no.
Yeah, and the drums I felt were okay, but again, much like the bass, they weren't given much to do, so I did not necessarily agree with them being as focused prominently as they were in the song.
Well, I completely disagree with you, but that's okay. I think the song is perfect the way it is. I like it a lot.
And once again, to folks that may be listening for the first time, we both understand that what we both said is right, because we're talking simply about our opinion of that song.
Yep.
You know, my opinion, even though it has been from first to last prominently negative, means nothing to other people's enjoyment of the song. and it shouldn't, you know, because it's just my take on it. I don't care for it, but I would be a fool to disregard their impact on music history, because as I already mentioned, I mean, they were definitely influences on Nirvana. I mean, that, most of all, you know, more than anything, you know, should showcase just how important they were to music history. So I can dislike their music all I want, but I'm not going to be one to disregard their place in music history. And, you know, they definitely deserve it.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Pixies. I think they're a solid band, and they definitely had an influence on what came later. And they were definitely influenced by what came before, both of which we've talked about on this show. So,
yep.
All right. That's it. That's our album of the week.
That's our album of the week. Now, I did post on Twitter, and I got a lot more traction this time, so I think any future polls that we're going to do are going to be on Twitter. But I put my choices for what our next album of the week is going to be, and the winner was Jomo and the Possum Posse, Take a Number Satan.
Okay.
That was the name of the album. Now, good news for you is I got someone to cover for you on that one.
Yay!
So you don't get to hear it.
I don't have to listen to the guy on a buffalo anymore.
No. It's Jomo and the Possum Posse, for folks that don't know, did create Guy in a Buffalo. If you have not heard Guy in a Buffalo, you need to go to YouTube.
No, you don't.
It is absolutely brilliant. Mm-mm. Disregard everything Kim is saying right now. And it's opposite day from when she talks.
No, save your ears, save your soul. Don't bother.
Guy in a Buffalo is brilliant. And their album, Take a Number Satan, is great as well. But Professor Aubrey is going to be back. We're going to have an episode out this coming Wednesday. Now, why am I rushing an episode out Wednesday when we usually try and release an episode on Saturday? Because the Wednesday episode will be episode 99. So that means next Saturday, episode 100.
Wow.
Yeah, we've already had some work done on episode 100. Episode 100 is going to be one of our longest episodes, but you only get a one shot to do an episode 100, so I don't care how long this is going to go. It's going to be what I feel is perfect.
Okay.
So,
but then that means I get to pick the album.
That you do.
Oh my. That's a big, heavy responsibility.
So what is that album choice going to be?
I don't know. You just dropped this on me. I don't know what my album choice is going to be. I'm going to have to think about this.
You're like, what's the Pixies discography, you son of a bitch?
No. I'm honestly, I'm going to have to ponder this seriously.
Well, ponder quickly, because next week you'll be working, so we'll have to get it done.
I know. Quickly. I will ponder it, and I will let you know.
At least by tomorrow.
Okay. Because
within the next couple of days we'll have to record.
Okay. We'll do that.
Yeah, but again, I am excited. For the longest time, because of the hiatus we took, I didn't think we would get to episode 100. So the fact that we are here, wow.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah. Any pre-thoughts you want to share about episode 100, about the show in general?
No, I'll share them on episode 100.
Well, you can give a little taste.
Well, no, I think it'll be better if I save it.
Okay. Overall, I'm just excited. I mean, the show has, definitely morphed into something really, really good. Not to say it was bad when it started, but I think the way we recorded when the show first started kind of did hamper. It did hamper new listeners from just hopping in. The fact that we, split topics up over weeks, I could see where somebody could hop into a part 3 conversation and not necessarily want to go back and, listen to parts 1 and 2. Whereas now, because of the podcast host service that we use, we can just record and dump whatever we want, on there. But, I love the fact that, it's transitioned to what it's done. And most of all, too, I do love the fact that we did start with the music focus.
Yeah.
I mean, that more than anything, I think has made my musical knowledge much more than what it probably would have been, even by listening to stuff that I may not necessarily like.
Yeah, that's true. It has definitely expanded my my listening horizons quite a bit. Plus, I'm doing research on bands that I've liked for years and learning new things, which is always fun. I mean, I didn't know the Pixies were from Boston until today.
Yeah.
So
now you're wicked smart.
Have you ever been to Boston?
No.
It is crazy.
No, the furthest east I got was Sandusky, Ohio.
Yeah, Boston. I like Boston, but the traffic and the people who drive in Boston are fucking insane. I mean, seriously, it's like signs are just kind of a suggestion and not a rule. It's crazy. Craziest driving I've ever seen was in the Boston area.
Did you go to the Cheers bar?
No, I did not. I actually, when I went to the Boston area, I was so freaked out by the driving, I didn't want to go in. So I've been to Salem rather than Boston. And Salem I liked. Salem was really cool.
Do you see any witch ashes?
Well, there's lots of witch-related stuff. There's like witches as part of like the logo on the cop cars and stuff like that.
Oh.
They definitely bring in the tourists with the witchy stuff, but at the same time, it's very interesting, and there's definitely a feel in there. There's something spooky in the air in Salem. I like it. I like Salem.
It's the fluoride in the water, probably.
And it's also where Parker Brothers was headquartered at one point.
Now they're in Guatemala.
Yeah, well, Parker Brothers, I think, got absorbed by the Hasbro mega company.
Yeah, and then Disney probably is going to buy them, a few years down the road. But...
who knows? Disney's going to own everybody and everything.
Ugh.
Including my pharmacy at some point.
Yeah, just...
And all our drugs will be Mickey Mouse shaped, and it'll be great.
Imagine though when Disney buys Pornhub.
It'll be great.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Hey, Minnie, take off your skirt. Woohoo!
Okay then.
Have you ever done a bukkake, Pluto?
That's just wrong.
Goofy, ever hear of a rim job?
Okay, before you corrupt all of us anymore with those terrible, terrible images in our head, can we stop?
One more. No. Chip and Dale in 2 chipmunks, 1 cup.
2 chips, 1 cup.
2 chipmunks, 1 cup. Jinx! Oh, we're not gonna make it to episode 100 at this rate.
Where's my gun? Where is my gun? No.
All right, another episode is in the books, folks. We thank you all for listening, and remember,
it's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up, ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that I'll be back when the day is new. And I'll have more ideas for you. And you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. You always make each day such a special day. You know how? By just your being you. Only one person in the whole world like you. That's you yourself. I'll be back next time. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.